thing on it so I could put you here and then I wouldn't have to hold my mic. But I want to talk to you today about commissions. I hope this is Friday morning in Belfast and it is lovely outside. Sort of. It's not really. I want to drink my coffee. So now I'm like, what do I do here? Um, anyway, doesn't matter. But I want to talk to you about commissions. I'm in the middle of commissions. The weather's a bit dull here, but I have been working from home. And last night I was at a memorial thing for my auntie who passed away in January. You'll know if you followed me for a while. In February, I made the painting of the roses after she passed away, and that was actually what has really grown my channel. But I was at that last night, and as I was there, we it was like a little service for her and a planting of a tree, and cousins of mine pointed out that I had paint all over my neck and my back. So even though I'm working from home, I still managed to be very messy. I can't show you the commission fully, but this week I've had a number of my own challenges, and I thought it would be good to share with you because I know a lot of you are painting for yourselves and painting because you love painting. But it will come to a stage because I know and I trust that you will keep learning and growing. That people will ask you to do commissions, and you might say, oh, it's only a wee commission or it's only something small. But these are 5 points that I have written down, which I believe can help you and that we all face. So I'm 16 years at this, but I can tell you that commissions, I don't love them. Like I love them because I learn from them, but overall, I feel all of these pain points that I'm going to discuss with you because um, the biggest one is fear. And you know that I talk about that a lot. Excuse me. But I'll get right into it for you once I clear my throat. So the biggest one is pricing. Good morning, good morning. Pricing is a hard one because the fear of pricing and not knowing where to price. I can't tell you a number to start with, and this comes up a lot with the clients or students of mine who are stepping into the realm of making their own work, and people are asking. So I can't give you a figure. But one thing I will say is, even in art college, they didn't even tell us the numbers to add with pricing. But you have to factor in things like your time. You have to factor in things that are hello, that are uh factor in the time. And then also once you set a structure for that. So for you, you might say, look, I've only been painting a couple of years, I'm only doing this for fun, but you're still offering a skill that someone else cannot do. So they've asked you to do it. So time, you don't really want to start thinking, going down too deep on exchanging money for time. And the reason that I share this is because the commission that's behind this camera at the minute is a really thick impasto commission of a figure. And I spent maybe 9 hours on it one day. And then and you see me, I paint fast, but it's slower when it's thick impasto painting. And inevitably, when it's commissions, you overthink a little bit more, you're a little bit more stressed. And then I spent about 6 hours on it yesterday and I painted over it. You've seen me do that. It happens. So that's the reason that I'm telling you not to really focus on time a lot, because some paintings might take me 3 months, some paintings might take me 3 hours. But it's good to have a reference point and to sort of figure out, if when you're starting out, to think like, what do I want to think of in terms of like time scale, and giving yourself a buffer each side. So in terms of pricing that, when you set the structure, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. A good thing to do, you might not be at the stage that I'm at where I send PDFs out to clients. And we started to do that in about 2020 when I had a personal assistant. And it was just really good because what it does is it takes that communication out for you. When you send someone a PDF, it's like, or if it's a friend who's asked you, you send them a text message that you already have all written down in your notes on your phone, and you just break it down so it will have really clear. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, it will have a really clear set out of how long it will take you and your pricing. And then if they come back to you and there's a little, I think with art, we're in an industry where there is movement. Um, my favorite clients are clients that don't even think about it. But when you put it in your notes, when you put it in a PDF, when you put your pricing structure out to someone, then you automatically step back from that. So you remove yourself, and I'll come back to that at the end. But you also let it act like, if you think of yourself when you're buying something or when you're inquiring about something, you expect to get a reference back. And then you're like, oh, that's above my budget or below my budget, or that's bang on my budget. So once you do that, that just helps you, makes you more professional, obviously. And even if you think, I'm not professional, Ali, that's not where I'm at right now, it separates you from the work. So that's the first one, is the pricing and underrating your pricing, undervaluing your skills. Um, another pain point that I find is, or have found, and especially when you're starting out, clients will ask for extras. So they'll maybe say, oh, but can you frame that for me? They might say, oh, I need you to add in an extra figure, or oh, could you also do X, Y, and Z? So when you, back to point one, when you make it clear your time frame. So my commissions price list at the minute comes through with two images: a thick paint that's in pasto painting, because people really love those. I'm going to show you really quick little a little reference to it. So I can't show you all of it, but that shows you how thick paint is that I'm working with. But on my price list, I have a thick impasto painting, and then I have an abstract painting, and those are the two that I offer. And I have 3 or 4 sizes. So the less sizes you offer, you and I both know that you could go as big as a house. You could paint massively if you really want. We know that you could be as small as a stamp if they need it to be tiny. But when you give pricing, when you give structure, same with those added extras. So for me, added extras are, if people want impasto, we have a set fee of that. So that's a minimum of 200 or £300 extra, because the amount of paint. So that's another thing to take into account in your pricing, the materials that you use. So if you're going, so the painting that I'm working on at the minute, we used Giso on it to begin with to make it nice and thick. That took a while to dry, so that took longer time. Then I've obviously painted over it several times because I wasn't happy with it. But all of that is basically you're taking the expectation out, so that when they add in extras, you can say, shipping. And even if it's someone in another state or across the pond and you know them well, or they're a friend of a friend, if you still say it's going to be, even if it's small, £10 for postage and packaging, just take that pressure off yourself. So number one is pricing, undervaluing yourself. Number two was your clients adding extra and not paying extra. That's the issue. So you make that really clear. And then number three is communication. We might be very creative. You might be very creative. You might be a very good communicator, and like myself, comfortable in front of camera. You don't mind it. But when it comes to talking about your work, when it comes to talking about what you can do for other people, even though you know that you can do something they can't, sometimes you can um, panic. But what I would say to that is, like all of the things that I tell you, be really, really clear in your own style. They will have chosen you and your work because of your style. You will get the odd person who will just send you a random message and say, I saw that you paint, or I heard that you paint now. Can you, paint on, I don't know, my dad's shoe? You get weird requests. Set those aside. Again, up your prices if you want people like that to not be there. Or maybe you'll be willing to paint on a shoe. But your communication, the clearer that you are on phone, the clearer that you are in text, referring back to point one, if you have it written in front of you, if you have it on your notes, then it just makes your communication style clearer. On this point, I had a client in front of me who was willing to pay exactly what I needed, but my husband was in earshot. And I am very knee deep in business by now. I am like sustaining our mortgage, keeping my kids in school, like I make work that sells, but I he overheard me and said, "You almost talk yourself out of things, Ali." And that is because I also feel fear. So my communication might be clear here, but the little devil on my shoulder and the doubt in my head can still mean that I don't allow pauses. So let yourself have a pause whenever you are delivering the price, the cost, the style. Then that just means, again, takes out expectations. And sometimes maybe you want to do things like a little mood board. Or what I also do when it comes to communication issues is I try to take that out by when I start the commission, excuse me, I make a little sketch of it for myself, like a gesture drawing. I teach you those, but you make a little sketch or you make a little tiny version of it. So I had a client in Australia and I made her two tiny versions of her massive painting, and it was in impasto style, so it was smaller scale, similar, exactly the same paints but on a smaller scale, and that was really good. So I gave her two options. So when you limit the options that you give, or when you give options as well, like those two, it means that excuse me, sorry, morning, although I have been to hot yoga, but what it means is they can just choose. So that again helps your communication. If you're like, you can have this one or this one. You can't have a third one or fourth one or fifth one, but these are the two that I'm giving you. It settles you a little bit too. I'm all about you settling your brain, settling yourself before you commit to the canvas. The more armed you are, the better it is. The more informed your client is, the better it is, because they've settled in knowing that they can trust you, and you know that you've given as much to them. That little mood board, talk to them about palette, about colors. um, Let me just see, because I can't drop my mic. Time management. So that goes, these are all pain points, but they all merge into one. Time management is, I've put in, it can vary, exclamation mark. So if you've been here from the beginning, you will know that the current commission I'm on, I've spent hours and days on. And then yesterday, I literally painted over it. I couldn't cope anymore. With that painting over, you'll know yourself if you want to stand by your work. And I know I've told you that many times before. You want to feel the happiest with your work. You want to feel like it's the most you that you can offer. And I didn't feel that with this painting. Now, my husband, other people that have been through my home studio this week have been like, wow, that's beautiful. I wasn't happy. I painted over it. With that actually came relief. So don't, in terms of time management, don't go so deep into the detail, especially when you're learning how to paint loose and you're painting loose and they've asked you to paint something in a loose, expressive manner. Don't get so caught up in the detail that you don't even recognize your own style. But when you give a clear indication of management, or you allow yourself a buffer. So I always say that 4 to 6 weeks for commissions, but that might not take that long, but you just gives yourself a buffer in case the pain and the panic takes over. So with that one, we come on to our final point. No, we've got 6 points. Number 5, confidence and imposter syndrome. Like, sure, I've talked about it on full demos here. Confidence is the thing that people dip in when it comes to commissions. You doubt your skills. You doubt that they've chosen you. You think, why have they chosen me? You doubt the fact that your style is what they want. You doubt your own style. One way around that in this lovely Friday morning is affirmations. I actually do write down, I'm going to show you now. Can I? All these things to hold on to. On this, I talked to you about a brain dump in the mornings. I did this brain dump this morning before I came on here, but mostly before I start my commission. So do that. Get your clear head out of your, get clear head ready to paint. Give yourself, like, come on here to my channel, go through all my videos, and all the ones that talk about confidence, all the ones that talk about purpose, talk about legacy. You have a skill that people do not have. That is why they have asked you to paint for them. And it might be wee Joe down the street who loves their dog and sees that you paint really cool, beautiful depictions of it. It might be your granddaughter who loves the beach that she visited with her fiance. It might be your best friend who has just seen you grow and wants to support you. Well, remember all those things, write them down before you start, and stick with me on that. Like, do not let that everything that you do to clear your mind. This is why I teach you with one brush. It's why I teach you with five colors. We want to take as much of the overthinking and panic out of your day, out of your mind, so that you show up in front of the canvas as your best and most creative self. So, affirmations: do not doubt your skills. Remember what Ali says: you have something that they do not have. I tell myself this before I stand in front of a canvas. This commission has been a pain, but how it will feel to pass it over and to stand by it overrides all the pain. And really, like, we don't get anywhere without a little bit of a challenge. Life isn't meant to be easy. No one said it was going to be easy. So same with commissions. They're meant to challenge you and to help you grow. Our last one is, this one's a tricky one. So client feedback or criticism. I would say it's one hand I've had over the many commissions in my career so far, 16 years of being officially self-employed. Long before that, was making little bits and pieces for people. I would say that on one hand, I could count the amount of feedback. And when you make something in your own style, you have to separate what's actually criticism and what's just feedback. So on those five fingers, which I would hold up, thumb, four fingers, it actually was it was not criticism. It was just feedback. So I remember one really distinctly about 10 years ago. And it was, I just, the windows were too dark in a building. And they just said, could you lighten the windows? And that threw me into a spiral because, refer back to point five, I doubted myself. I panicked. I want to people please. My dad died when I was 7. I was 8. A 8-year old just started to go into myself, and that's when I started to paint. But it also is the time that I just realized that if I perform well, then people like me. And so you can often go back to those childhood stresses. You, it might not be grief for you, but we want things to be well. We go back into that state of being educated the way we are in school, where if you do well, you get praise and you get good marks. So when someone gives you a feedback, you don't even hear that they're just helping you along, or they're just asking you to change it or to vary it. Or, sometimes with impasto painting, I tell people, this figure's not going to be like a picture, just the same way I talked about with you. It's not. If it was going to be a picture, I would take a photo for you. And they might say, oh, is that one person or two people beside each other, if I haven't made it really clear? So rather than send yourself in a complete spiral, the first thing to do is to separate yourself from your work. I'm telling you to be really clear and be really creative, absolutely. But when it comes to a painting, it is not life or death. Remember that. The sun will still come up, the sun will still go down. You have to gain perspective. And I remember another thing a client said to me, but he was more challenging me. He said, like, what, or no, I said to him, sorry, what if I paint this? This is honestly about 12 years ago. What if I paint this and it falls off their wall? Or what if the paint changes color? And he worked for a huge corporation. A lot of you are in America, huge, huge, huge. And actually, I would love him to coach me now. I should go back to that. I wasn't ready at the time, but he just said, and you would just help them put it back on the wall, or you would just paint them another one. And it was, once he said that to me, it was like, oh, yeah, right. So when you keep perspective, when you separate, so I'm looking at my notes, when you separate yourself from your work, then everything is less worrying. So when you get, or if you get, look, if someone doesn't like what you've done, you set it aside, you say, I'm sorry. Take a deposit as well, because at least you don't have to give that back. We don't give the deposits back. I've never had to do it because, as I refer back to, they've chosen you, they've chosen your style, they want to support you. So remember that so any feedback will be just expectations that just sometimes people don't read them right. but the world still spins. You're still amazing. You still have value, and your paintbrush is still worth lifting. So, the other thing I'm just going to say on that and wrap it up is every single time I learn from every client, from every purchase, from every up and down, and from every YouTube even I put out here, I am never starting from zero. And the same with you. If you have feedback that sets you in a spiral, if you have feedback that makes you doubt yourself, you'll get over that. You will. Next week, you'll be over it. It'll be less and less each. It's a bit like grief. It diminishes ever so slightly each day. It doesn't go away ever. Some days it's louder, some days it's quieter, and you will never, ever be back to zero. So remind yourself of that. You are making a painting. You're going to go through that experience. You're going to use the points. I'm going to go through them very quickly. Underrating your pricing, how to go about that is to factor your time and to write it in your notes or to make a little PDF. Number two is that's making a set. So pricing and underpricing. Set a structure, make a little PDF, make it clear on your side, and you always want to be as clear as possible. So that will be the size of paintings, the medium, and factor in time even just for yourself. Number two is clients adding in little extras. Well, the clearer you are with those, and if you have little points at the bottom of your little PDF or of your text message, you will say additional costs are postage and packaging. Additional costs are extra paint. Additional cost is framing. Because you'll have to source that and that will be on your watch, on your time. Number three was communication issues. The clearer you are with yourself about who you are, how you show up in front of the canvas, then the clearer your notes will be. And that will also be come across in the options you give them. So when if you give them two options, or like I was saying, I like to give a little sketch before I make, excuse me, the actual painting, just so it keeps people don't know. So I like to do that. Number four is time management. So understand how long it can take you, and then remember it can vary. I'm a walking example of that. Um, and number five is confidence. So get over that by affirmations, a little brain dump in the morning, remembering to watch my videos on here about confidence, about legacy. And then number six is dealing with client feedback. So separating yourself from your work. With all that being said, I'm excited for you. I know that it's in your future. I know that people will ask you because the more you're on my channel, you'll have at least one video a week to give a try. You know, I like you to return to the canvas and try things over and over again. I talked to my son yesterday about watching. I have three kids, and the last two kids, the